I want to share with you that I allowed myself to kiss a colleague at a corporate party. Yekaterina stared at the screen of her phone for a long time, not daring to press the call button. Her husband's number appeared on the display, but she was in no hurry to answer. What would she tell him? How can I explain what happened? And is it worth explaining anything at all? Maybe it's better to pretend that nothing happened. Katya, are you here already? Andrei, her colleague, looked in the door of the office. Everyone has already gathered in the meeting room. Yes, I'm coming. Yekaterina shuddered and quickly put the phone in her bag. I'm coming. She got up from the table, pulled down her skirt and headed for the exit. As she passed by Andrei, she felt his gaze on her and involuntarily quickened her pace. After yesterday's corporate party, it was awkward for her to look into his eyes. The staff of the department has already gathered in the meeting room. Yekaterina took her place, trying not to make eye contact with Andrei. The discussion of the new project began, but she couldn't concentrate. My thoughts kept returning to the events of the previous evening. In honor of the company's anniversary, a corporate evening was organized at the restaurant. Champagne flowed freely, everyone was having fun and dancing. At some point, Yekaterina found herself alone with Andrei on the balcony. They had been working together for many years, but had never communicated outside the office. And so, under the influence of alcohol and a romantic atmosphere, a spark ran between them. Without realizing how it happened, Yekaterina found herself in the arms of her colleague. The kiss was long and passionate. Yekaterina Sergeyevna, do you agree with the proposed idea? The boss's voice interrupted her memories. Yes, of course, she nodded hurriedly, although she had no idea what he was talking about. After the meeting, Yekaterina returned to her office. She closed the door and sank into a chair. What should I do now? How to live on? 15 years of marriage, 2 children, and it could all come crashing down because of one stupid kiss. Her husband would not forgive her for cheating, even if it was just a kiss. He was always very jealous. There was a knock on the door. Yekaterina was startled when she saw Andrei on the threshold. Katya, we need to talk, he said softly. There's nothing to talk about, Andrei. Let's just forget about yesterday, she turned to the window. But I don't want to forget. Katya, he stammered. I've had feelings for you for a long time. It just came out yesterday. Stop it, please, Yekaterina pleaded. I have a family, children. I love my husband. What about your feelings? Didn't you feel anything yesterday? Andrei came closer. Catherine was silent. What could she say? Yes, she liked the kiss. Yes, next to Andrei, she felt a long-forgotten excitement. But is it possible to destroy a family for the sake of a fleeting passion? Go away, she said softly but firmly. I don't want to discuss this anymore. Andrei stood for a few more seconds, and then left in silence. Catherine covered her face with her hands. She wanted to cry. She hadn't been herself all day. My work was not going well, my thoughts were confused. In the evening, as she was getting ready to go home, she noticed Andrei's gaze on her. There was such longing in his eyes that her heart sank. But she forced herself to turn away and hurried to the exit. Her husband Sergei met her at home. Hello, dear. How was your day? He kissed her on the cheek. It's fine, she replied, avoiding his gaze. Why are you so sad? Are you tired? Sergei put his arm around her shoulders. Yes, a little, she pulled away from his embrace. I'm going to lie down. In the bedroom, she collapsed on the bed. She felt like she had fallen into some kind of nightmare. After all, her life was so simple and clear: a beloved husband, children, and a cozy home. But in a moment, everything changed. She couldn't sleep for a long time. Lying in bed, she listened to her husband's calm breathing and thought. Before her eyes, Andrei's face appeared again and again, his burning gaze. Yekaterina tossed from side to side, trying to drive away the obsessive thoughts. In the morning, she woke up feeling exhausted. At breakfast, Sergei looked at her haggard face with concern. "Are you feeling unwell? Why don't you stay at home?" No, it's all right," Yekaterina answered hurriedly. "I just didn't get enough sleep." At work, she studiously avoided Andrei. But I could feel his eyes on me, full of unspoken feelings. By lunchtime, Catherine's nerves were on edge. She locked herself in the bathroom and let her tears run wild. In the evening, returning home, Yekaterina made a decision. "I need to tell my husband." She couldn't live a lie anymore. After waiting for the children to fall asleep, Yekaterina called her husband into the kitchen. "Serioza, we need to talk," she began in a trembling voice. "What happened? What is it?" he asked anxiously. "You look like that. For me. I need to confess something to you," Yekaterina sighed heavily. "At a corporate party, I kissed a colleague." There was an awkward silence. Sergei looked at his wife with his eyes wide open, as if he couldn't believe his ears. "What?" he finally said. "You cheated on me." "No. That is. It was just a kiss. There was nothing else, I swear." Catherine held out her hands to him imploringly. Sergei abruptly pulled away. "Just a kiss?" He smiled bitterly. "And you don't think that means anything?" "Serioza, forgive me. I do not know how it happened. We had a drink, and suddenly. But I only love you, really." Tears rolled down Catherine's cheeks. "Do you like it?" Sergei jumped up. "If you loved, you wouldn't kiss someone else. It was a mistake. Stupidity. I immediately regretted it." "Shut up." He slammed his fist on the table in anger. "I don't want to hear anything." Sergei ran out of the kitchen. Catherine rushed after him. "Serioza, wait. Let's talk." Her husband had already closed the door behind him. Yekaterina sank to the floor in the hallway, exhausted. What had she done? Why did she tell me? Maybe I should have kept quiet. No, lying is not an option. Sooner or later, everything secret becomes clear. Sergei returned home only in the early morning. He smelled like alcohol. He silently went into the bedroom and collapsed on the bed. Yekaterina carefully sat down next to him. "Serioza. Don't touch me," he replied dully. "I don't want to talk right now." For the next few days, there was an oppressive silence in the house. Sergei hardly communicated with his wife, answering only questions related to household matters. He spent the night in the living room. Yekaterina tried to talk to him, to explain herself. But he just waved it off. "I need to think about it. Leave me alone." Things were also going very badly in the professional sphere. Yekaterina couldn't concentrate, she was constantly making mistakes in her calculations. The supervisor has already made a remark to her. And then there's Andrew. He didn't try to talk to her about what had happened anymore. But his longing-filled gazes pursued Catherine everywhere. One day, when she bumped into him in the hallway, she couldn't stand it. "Stop looking at me like that. Nothing can happen between us, understand?" "But why?" Andrei asked quietly. "You felt something too, I know. Because I have a husband and children. I will not leave my family for a fleeting hobby." "This is not a hobby, Katya. I love you. For real." Catherine shook her head. "No, Andrei. You just made up this love. We barely know each other." "But I know how I feel." He tried to take her hand, but she pulled her hand away. "Please, let's forget about everything. For the sake of our work, for the sake of my family." Andrei smiled bitterly. "Forget it? It's easy to say. How can I forget what I feel every time I look at you?" He abruptly turned around and left. Catherine stood leaning against the wall for a long time. My heart was heavy and anxious. In the evening, when she returned home, a bottle of cognac and 2 glasses were waiting for her on the kitchen table. Sergei was sitting with his head in his hands. "We need to talk," he said hoarsely. Yekaterina silently sat down opposite. Sergei poured cognac into glasses. "Have a drink. You need it." She took a sip obediently. "The cognac burned my throat. I've been thinking a lot these days," Sergei began. "About us, about our marriage. And I realized that it couldn't go on like this." Catherine's heart sank. "Did he really decide? Do you want a divorce? What is it?" she asked in a trembling voice. Sergei shook his head. "No. I want to give our marriage another chance. For the sake of the children, for the sake of everything that happened between us." Catherine breathed a sigh of relief. "But," Sergei raised his hand, "there is one condition. You should leave your job. I don't want you to keep talking to this." He grimaced. "Colleague." "But how?" Yekaterina began, but her husband did not let her finish. "No buts. Either you quit your job, or we break up. Choose one." Yekaterina looked at the amber liquid in the glass, as if there was an answer in it. 15 years of marriage, children, memories, everything flashed before my eyes in an instant. Yes, she loved her job, but how could she compare it to her family? "I'm quitting," she said softly, looking up at her husband. "You're right, it's better for everyone." Sergei had calmed down noticeably, but there was still concern in his eyes. "When?" "I'll write a statement tomorrow." The next day, Yekaterina came to work first. She quickly wrote a letter of resignation and put it on the head's desk. Then she began to pack her things. Andrei appeared in the doorway of her office when she was putting the photos in a box. "What's going on? What is it?" he asked in confusion. "I'm leaving, Andrei. Forever. Because of me." His voice cracked. "Because of myself." Yekaterina shook her head. "You know, sometimes you have to make a choice. And I did it." Andrei took a step towards her, but she stopped him with a gesture. "Don't. Please, just let me go." He watched in silence as she packed her things. There was pain in his gaze, but Yekaterina forced herself to ignore it. When she passed by him with a box in her hands, he said softly, "You're making a mistake, Katya." "No," she replied firmly. "That kiss was a mistake. And now I'm fixing everything." After leaving the office, Yekaterina took a deep breath. Conflicting feelings were mixed in her soul, bitterness from parting with her beloved business and relief from realizing the correctness of her decision. Sergei was waiting for her at home. He specifically took time off from work to meet her. Did you do everything? What is it? He asked, helping her take off her coat. Yes, Yekaterina nodded. I'm free in 2 weeks. Sergei hugged her and hugged her tightly. His familiar scent made her heart ache. We'll make it, he whispered in her ear. I'll help you find a new job. Everything will be fine. Yekaterina clung to her husband, feeling the last of her doubts disappear. Yes, we'll have to start all over again. Yes, it won't be easy. But she knew that the main thing was to keep her family together. And you can find a job. A month later, Yekaterina started working for a new company. The salary was lower, but the team turned out to be very friendly, and the work was exciting. Gradually, life returned to its usual course. Relations with her husband were improving, although it was not easy to fully restore the old trust. Sometimes, falling asleep next to her husband, she remembered that ill-fated evening on the balcony. But now these memories did not cause her any anxiety or longing, only a slight sadness about her momentary weakness. Yekaterina understood that that kiss was just an obsession, a fleeting temptation that could destroy everything that was really dear to her. She made her choice. And this choice was the right one.